Hello, class. I hope you're doing well. Ready for week two, the week two introduction. The main theme of this week is various conceptions of the teaching profession. Now, teaching and the profession can be thought of in numerous ways. It can be thought of as an art, as a craft, as a science, as a calling, as a practice. Have you ever heard that, like the doctor, my medical practice, a lawyer, my law practice? Well, our teaching practice. And we can view our teaching practice as practice. The idea comes in here of the reflective practitioner, someone who practices in a reflective frame of mind, a reflective way of being. That's what we're shooting for here, reflective practitioners. Now, there are so many ways to view the teaching profession, it's necessary to focus. And that's what you get to do on paper one. You get to focus on one of two conceptions of the teacher. Okay? You can choose chapter four and do it on teaching as a practice and as practice. Okay? And you can draw from John Dewey, a lot in there. Chapter 4 has a lot of insight into the practice of teaching. Now, don't get bogged down with all the philosophical details, like is Dewey or McIntyre right, or who has the strongest case. Gather the main ideas, and I believe the very thorough instructions on the paper will help you with that. Okay, paper one instructions. Or you can choose uh, chapter 5 and write on teaching as a helping profession. Okay? Now, this theme that runs through the whole book is related to your discussion board 2 post. The idea of self development versus selfishness. Okay? Uh, the Higgins book is all about the idea of teachers uh, flourishing, being self developed, self actualized, being people of excellence, because you can't give what you don't have. And if you develop and continue to develop these traits, these virtues, you're going to be of better use to your citizens. Citizens, wow, to your students and the citizens of our country as well. All right, now, um, Chapter 5, the idea of the helping profession, and teaching is often thought of as a helping profession, legitimately so. This takes the other side of the self development selfishness. Okay, here's what I mean by this. Uh, a lot of times, people will tend to view teaching as a sacrificial endeavor. Okay, you're giving up something, you're losing out on something. Uh, Higgins calls this by various names. He calls it the ascetic ideal, the idea of going without as being virtuous. He refers to it as altruism, everything's about the good for others. Well, that's fine and well, but sometimes that can be taken to an extreme where we give and give and give, and what happens? We're spent because we don't take care of ourselves. And that's the angle you can take there, okay? Uh, and we can go over this in the uh, class virtual meeting on Monday, 7 through to 9 o'clock Central Standard Time every Monday. Okay? Walk through all your questions and take our time and, you know, get you real set up for this first paper. Okay? Now, a little illustration about this idea of self development and it not being selfishness. Okay? Most of you have probably been on an airliner, and the instructions your flight attendant gives vary from airline to airline, but they almost always include this, something like this. In the event of cabin decompression, an oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling, right? And they say something like this, don't they? Because children are our most important resources, children are most important, put the oxygen mask on the children first. No, put it on yourself first. And then you will be in a better position to actually help others. Get it? That's the point. Okay? Now, I'll close this introduction with a little story. Back in the day when I was a student, an undergraduate student at The Ohio State University, thank you very much. Um, I did my student teaching at a progressive alternative school in an affluent suburb of Columbus called Worthington. I was social studies education, got to design the courses I taught, which I thought was great. And one of my fellow student teachers was a young man named Bruce Hart. And Bruce Hart just happened to be the drum major for the Ohio State University Marching Band. They call them the best damn band in the land. And they are the best. YouTube them. Great videos. Now, Bruce gave an assembly performance, twirling his baton. It was just fantastic, wonderful. And I was sitting out in the auditorium with the students, and a student who was sitting next to me, he kind of gave me an elbow, and he said, "You know what?" I said, "What?" He said, "I'd really like to be able to do something like that." And I thought, yeah, me too. And I think what that young man was expressing is a universal human desire, namely to do something and to do something well with style and grace and skill and precision that others can enjoy, others can appreciate, that makes our lives a little better, that brings us some pleasure. And you know what I think? Teaching is a way to do that, to do something like that. And teaching, I've been asked many times, why teaching? Simple answer is, because I like it. Sounds like a Rolling Stones there. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. It's only teaching, but I like it. Now, in a little more sophisticated way, teaching is a way of being, a way of life, a kind of work where you can bring all your knowledge, all your skills, all your experiences, all your dispositions, and bring it to bear on your work. And you can continue to develop that your whole life, your whole career. Okay? Thumbs up for you teachers. All right. Thank you.